uh, all over the experiment and what type of conclusions they should take, what type of um, things they should consider, those type of steps they asked to um, write in the paper. So today I am going to discuss a paper from a very specimen paper. A student places a small metal container inside a large metal container. It's like that in this experiment they ask, there is a large container and inside of it there is a small container of some reservoir of something like hot water. Same amount of hot water is there. In this experiment they ask to observe or plan an experiment to investigate the effect of the size of the air gap between the containers, small container and large containers. There is a gap between these two. We can observe that this is a gap. This is the gap. So there is a gap. So if we change the gap, that means we vary the gap, or we can, if we change the size of the container, large container, the inside container remains same, but the large container they usually changes in several containers over there, like 4 or 5 different containers. So they asked to plan an experiment to investigate the effect of the size of the air gap between the small metal container and the large metal container on the rate of cooling of the hot water. So inside of it there is a hot water. We know that there is a energy over there, and these our hot water particles are vibrating over there and the emitting heat energy. As we know that heat travel from the higher temperature to lower temperature gradient. So heat is traveling from this place to the outside. So now if I take this experiment, do this experiment and change the reservoir, like if I replace this with a very large container like this, and if I place the same water source in this position like this, so the surface area is larger over there, the gap is higher. So for this large gap, we get the different gradient of change of টেম্পারেচার। বাংলায় যদি বলি আমি, যে এইখানে আমরা দেখছিলাম যে টেম্পারেচার যত ছিল, সাপোজ দ্য টেম্পারেচার ইজ 70 ডিগ্রি সেলসিয়াস। সো we know that time to time, if the room temperature is constant, then the temperature decreases with time. So while the temperature was 70 degree, we observe, we have to switch on a stopwatch and we observe the temperature. So how we can measure the temperature? Obviously we have to set a thermometer in this case. So we have to set some stand over there. So you have to draw this and planning this. In the experiment they may ask you to draw a diagram or not, it's up to you, but my suggestion is always you have to draw the diagram properly. So they use this diagram. So I set a thermometer over there, and also I need a stopwatch. So I need a stopwatch, fancy stopwatch over there. So by using that stopwatch we can start the reading while the temperature is 70. Now with the time, temperature gradually decreasing. So 70, so after a while it becomes 68. So when the temperature becomes 60 degrees Celsius, we just stop the stopwatch. So we get a certain time for this specific container. If I say this is the container A, so if I change the container's diameter, this container, if we take a little bit larger container, little bit larger compared to this, then again do the same thing, take this small metal container over there, or measuring cylinder, which is metal made, so it can transfer easily. So inside there is a hot water. Again the temperature is 70 degree. We have to pour the water over there, and we have to measure the temperature, observe the temperature, what time it take to fall from 70 to 60. Then we again change the container with more larger diameter. So several we can change that, like from a first container, then the second container, third container, fourth container, fifth container, sixth container. So we have 6 containers we observe for the same amount of small container inside. So thing is, there are only small container is a single container over here which contain hot water, and the other containers are just provide a certain area or volume of air. So for the small container case, the small container surrounded by air, and this large container over there, this is surrounded by air molecules by using this wall. So if I am going to increase this, so what is expecting? We expect that as we take a larger area, it will emit the heat more. So the time taken to grab from 70 to 60 is smaller, getting smaller. So আমরা যদি এখানে যত লার্জ কন্টেনার নিব তত তাড়াতাড়ি ঠান্ডা হয়ে যাবে, it will cool down more rapidly, more fast observations we can see. So for this type of experiment, they ask you to plan what type of steps you have to write in the paper. So they contain usually 6 marks. So as it contains 6 marks, you have to maintain something like briefly you have to write how you carry out the experiment investigations. You have to state the key variables over there, which variables you are maintaining, which is independent, dependent and controlled variable. You have to understand the variable things. And আমি আমার স্টুডেন্টদের বলেছিলাম I am going to upload a video on this specific topic, so that I am doing this for my mastermind student mostly. So now we have to use a table for this same setup. We have to use a table, and a table will labeled with some specific diagram, like the table we contain. We have to write down a table. We don't have to mention any kind of values over there. We just write down the variables, like the diameter of the container, which can be calculated as meter in length, and this thing, the time it will take in second. We can say seconds or minutes, anything. It's depend. So we have to write down these things. So how we can write down the answers? So I'm going to give you the answers, how you can write down the answers. So we have to include this table, we have to include this continuous idea, diagram, and the control variables, and the dependent, independent variables, everything. So I just wrote the answer over my book. So I'm going to write down, dictate it. Please copy it out. So the answer should like this. আচ্ছা, এই কোয়েশ্চেন্সটা আমি আমার যে ইউটিউবের যেখানে আমি আপলোড করব সেইখানকার কমেন্ট সেকশনে আমি এই কোয়েশ্চেনটা পিডিএফটা আপলোড করে দেবো, সো ইউ ক্যান ইজিলি আইডেন্টিফাই দ্য অ্যান্সার্স and correlate the things. Okay, so the answers is start like this. Take some specific volume of hot water in the small container, and place the small container in a large container. Full stop. Place a thermometer in the small container and wait the temperature till 70 degree, comma, start stopwatch and wait till the temperature is 60 degrees Celsius, comma. So stop the whole experiment setup in this case. So now unquote, quote we are not going to write now. So this part I guess you have already noted. So এরপরে কি করব আমরা? Obviously এর পরের কাজটা করব আবার, then now again write it down. Again we have to take the another larger diameters container and the small container with the same amount of water, and again the same fashion we will wait. When the temperature is 70 degree, we start the stopwatch and wait till the temperature is 60 degrees Celsius. We just write it down over there in the table. Okay, so in this process we have to vary 5 to 6 different diameters outside container, so that we get a bunches of reading. Those readings which are used to draw or take some, we can draw some graphs, and by using those we can conclude. Now again write it down. Each time we have to maintain same room temperature. Each time I have to maintain the same room temperature, other than that the temperature gradient will changes. So don't worry, I am going to give you a written answer of these questions in the comment box of the YouTube link. So relax. Now these following tables we have drawn, we just get some mental setup that আমরা এখানে কি কি কনসিয়াসনেস মেনটেন করব। রুম টেম্পারেচার যেন সেম থাকে, ভিতরে হট ওয়াটারের অ্যামাউন্টটা যেন সেম থাকে, এই কন্টেনারটা যেন একই রকম থাকে, এই ডায়ামিটারটা যেন বাড়তে থাকে আস্তে আস্তে বা কমতে থাকে। উই হ্যাভ টু মেনটেন এ কনসিকুয়েন্স ওভার দেয়ার, অ্যান্ড উই ক্যান ড্র এ টেবিল। টেবিলটা কীরকম হতে পারে, যে আমি এখানে ডায়ামিটারের কথা লিখেছি, তুমি টেবিলটাকে আর একটু ফর্মালি গ্রো করাইতে পারো। টু গ্রো দ্য টেবিলস, টু রাইট ডাউন দ্য টেবিলস, লেটস I give you the hint of the table, like তুমি এখানে 3 different portion রাখতে পারো। প্রথমটাতে আমি রাখছি air gap in centimeter. This is the air gap. In the board diagram you can see the air gap. So air gap, as the diameter is increasing, the air gap is increasing. So this is the air gap. And second is temperature drops in degree Celsius, from কত থেকে কত আসছে, like 70 to 60 degree Celsius. এটার জন্য what amount of time it is taken, so time taken in second. So the air gap that takes less time for the same change of 10 degree Celsius for the temperature has the greatest cooling rate. That is the actual conclusion for this experiment. So I am going to write down the experiment. This was the description. So you get the answer over there in the link, and best of luck for the exam. Bye bye.